Hi everyone, hope you are all doing well and keeping safe. So here we are back on for the AWS training track 3A. This is going to be the IAM lab track. So let's quickly check what we are going to check out in the lab session. So under the, we're going to check out these terms that we had done in the previous theory track. So that's gonna be, we're gonna create users, we're gonna create groups, we're gonna create we are not going to create policies, but we're gonna check what the policies are, how we can apply them to users, groups, roles, etc. So that we're gonna check, and finally we're gonna check out roles. So under the roles, we are gonna see roles applied to users, we're gonna use the groups, and we're gonna see how it is applied to particular services. So we have actually seen this getting applied to a different account. We have seen it getting applied to other services as well, but we're gonna see that here separately as well. So let's just simply jump into the practical sessions and see how we are going to go ahead and create these users, groups, and roles here. All right, let's get into that. All right, so I'm on the AWS Management Console now. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to create a user. So I click on IAM first. Now, if you see in the console that I don't have an MFA created, I have not created an user. There can be groups to assign permissions. I have not done that. I can actually give an password policy as well. So these were the things that we discussed in the theory track. Now, since I have not created a user, I'm going to start with the user first. So I'm going to click on users. I'm going to add a user, and I'm going to give this user the name as Arun. I'm going to, there are two types of accesses now. The access types can be programmatic. So the programmatic access will need the access key ID and the secret access key. This is generally used for access to the AWS API, CLI, and SDK, and other tools as well. So this, what it does is that when you create this particular user, there would be a access key ID and secret access key that would be provided to you, and this can be used whenever you're using it for the access to the API, CLIs, SDK, and stuff. So right now I don't need that. I'm going to create this particular user to have console access, and I've given this the AWS Management Console access. So now this will require a password that I need to set. So under the console password, you can actually give it an auto-generated password, but I'm going to give it a custom password. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a custom. So I have typed in my password now. I can require to reset this password once the user logs in, but I don't want to do that either. I'm going to give this permission. So I can give it permissions by actually add a policy right here. So now let me just show you, like, attach existing policies directly. I can use add this user to a group and give the permissions to the group as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a permission right here, this user, just as is. I'm going to give this user, say, S3 access. So I'm going to type in S3. Now I'm going to give this user S3 full access. So this is all I'm doing. I'm not going to add this user to a group, nor am I going to give this copy permissions from existing users. So there are no users to copy it from. So if you click this, I have to actually go ahead and change that. So I am not going to do that. So simply what I'm going to do is click next. Now under the tags, I can give it some tags. I'm not going to do that either. I am just simply going to create this user. So if you see here, this is the name of the user, what is the managed policy that I've attached, and I'm just going to click on create. So if you see this, you will see this that there is a particular sign in at this particular link. Now you will see that this is grayed out. That's because that's the account that I need to log into. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to simply copy this. I have copied this. Now I can actually send this as a mail to the user. and they can use this. I can actually download the credentials. Now this is more so to do with the access key and access secret key. So I'm not going to do this. I can actually go ahead and download this just to check it later on. I've kept it there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply log out of this particular account. I've copied this. I'm going to log out of this account. Now I'm going to type this particular, I'm going to paste this what I had copied it. So you will see that it has automatically come up. And now because I've typed my username as well as password earlier, so my PC actually remembers it. So it's typed in my username. So you will see that this will be showing, the account ID will show your the actual ID of your account, and then you will have the username and the password that you have to enter. Simply sign in. So when you sign in, you will see that uh, yeah, so when you sign in, you will be seeing that, okay, so that shows you the information like, okay, you have the access to the console, you have Arun at the account ID. So you're seeing all these things. Now you will see that you are able to see all the services, but are you really able to see them? Let's click on one of the services and check if you have access to that. So I'm clicking on IAM to check if I have access to that. So you'll see that this particular user does not have access to IAM. Now I can click on EC2 instances. Now if you go into running instances, I do not have any running instances as of now, but you will see that this will error out saying that you are not authorized to perform this operation. So this is what you will have because this particular user was set only to have access on S3. So is that right? So let's go ahead and check if I have access to S3. So now I'm in the S3 this thing. If I have access to S3, I should be able to create a bucket. So I'm going to go ahead and create a bucket here. So I've created a bucket. I'm hoping that that is allowed. I'm going to simply create this bucket. Right. So if you see this, I'm able to create this bucket. And now I'm going to delete this. So I should be able to, because I've given full access to this, I should be able to delete this as well. Okay. So for deleting this, I have to type the bucket name. Type the bucket name here, and I'm clicking on delete. So you'll see that now there are no buckets. So this is how you can create a user, give them particular granular permission on what you need that user to have permissions to access. Now I've done that. Now let's go back and check if I can put this user into a particular group and how that helps. So if let me log out from this account. Right, so I'm logged out of this account. I'm going to log back in to that other account. Okay, so I'm logged back into my base account. So I'm logged in as the root user, and now what I'm going to do is basically going back to IAM. Now I have an individual user. What I'm going to do now is actually going to create a group. So I'm creating a group now. My group name is going to be admin. You can give this you can give it any name. It doesn't matter. The naming is not a problem. So I'm going to give this user. Now instead of giving it complete S3 access, what I'm going to give this particular user is admin access. So I'm going to give this user administrative access. So that means I'm giving it complete access to the entire, all the AWS resources I'm going to give this access to. So I'm going to create this group. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this group, add users to the group. So right now I have just one user created. Now you will see what the difference is going to be. Now this particular user only had access to S3, complete S3 access. Now in the group, what I'm going to do is basically select this user and I'm going to add this user here. So what will this user have? This user will have both the admin full access as well as S3 full access. So it is the S3 access now becomes redundant, but it will have both of them. So now if you will see under this group, you have one user over here. So now if I want to actually go ahead and check the user's access to this particular account. So let's go ahead and check that out. So let me log out of this account again. Let me log back in. So I'm going to paste that link over here again and use. Okay, so I'm right now in the I'm on that page again. I'm going to simply click on sign in. Now last time when we checked, we saw that it does not have access to IAM, it does not have access to EC2, it only had access to S3. So now let me go ahead and click IAM to check if I have access to IAM. So now you will see that this particular user is able to check all the IAM rules and stuff. Even when you go to EC2, it will not show you any EC2s because I don't have any EC2s here. But you will see that it won't give you a error saying that you are not authorized to check this. So now it's going to say that you don't have any instances running here. So that is exactly correct because I have given it the admin access. And what it has done is I have given the admin access to the groups, but it has trickled down to the user under that particular group. So now we have understood what groups. So what it does is that when you have like a lot of users and you want to segregate those users separately. So say it's you have the admin group. I'm going to log out of this first. So when you have like multiple groups, say you have user like say you have admin users, you have developers who need access to particular this thing, you have a sales team which wants access only to the S3 per se. So you can actually go ahead and segregate these users under those groups, and what you can do is go ahead and give those permissions to those groups instead of each particular user. So you don't it is what it does is basically you don't have to go and check out each and every user. Giving the permissions to the groups will give the permissions to the users under it. So that's the idea about groups, how and where you will be using the groups. So now let's go back, sign in and check out the policies and how the policies are attached. What are the policy documents, which is a JSON document. Let's go ahead and see that. Okay, so I'm again logged back into my account. Now I'm going to IAM. Now let's check out what is the policy document. So let's go ahead and see that. So if you go under policies, let this load in. So you will see that there are a lot of policies which are already created for you. Now what you can do is when you click on create policy, so you can actually choose a particular visual editor which will give you a choice of like you can choose the service here. You can check out so you have all the services right here. Once you select the services, you can actually go ahead and select the actions, what resources are required, request conditions, all those things you can set up. The same thing you can do when you click on the JSON. So in a JSON format, you can actually go ahead and put a policy here. This policy document, then you can, so instead of going ahead and selecting each particular policy, each and every policy that you require, you can actually paste this as a policy document here. So this is a JSON format document. So whenever you create, let's go ahead and click one of them and check if this gets created as a JSON too. So let's see, go ahead and do that. All EC2. Okay, so I've done this. Let's see if that is coming into no. So it does not convert it directly. So basically the thing is, instead of doing this visual editor thing, you can actually go ahead and click on the JSON part, and if you have that document ready, you can just paste it here. So I can do that, and then I can go ahead and review the policy. Now I'm not going to create this policy right now, so I'm going to click on cancel. So that is what you can do. So simply what this does is that once a policy is created over here, you can go ahead. So if there is a group that you want that policy to be assigned, I can then simply click on this. Under permissions, I can just attach a policy. So when if I have some particular policy created, so I had one policy which was created, which is S3 cross region replication for TechMozart.in to TechMozart.us. That was done for the AWS S3 track. So this is there. I can actually go ahead and attach it. It makes this is not going to help for in the case of a particular group. This was basically for the S3 to actually do a cross region replication. So this is a policy just for S3 bucket replication. So it won't help us in this case, but yes, this is the kind of thing that you can use it. So if I had created another policy, I could have just selected that policy, and that policy can have multiple permissions under it. So that is what a policy can do. Now let's go ahead and check what roles are. Now I'm going to click on roles here. Now if you go ahead and see, again the role also is there for the same thing. The cross region replication had a role created. We also did a cross account S3 share, that also had a role here. Here what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply create a role, and let's see what we are going to do with that. So now under the role, when you click on create role, now you have like the first part of is what entity you want to attach it to. So now if you click on AWS service, it would be a AWS service that you're looking at. You can go for another AWS account. This is what we did for the cross account S3 access. We did that. Now web identity is basically OpenID or any of the providers that you want to use. There is SAML 2.0 integration as well. Now once you have done this, the second part would be permission, so we'll be going into that. So now I'm going to, for this particular session, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a case in which I want to give a EC2 instance S3 access. So you might have a question, doesn't an EC2 instance already have access to S3? So let's check that out. So I'm going to click on EC2 now, and simply go ahead and launch an instance here. So I'm going to select Linux AMI2. I'm going to leave that as T2 micro. I'm going to leave it everything else as default. I'm not going to change anything. I'm not going to give that. I'm going to give it a tag though, so that I can identify it, but even if you don't, it's fine. Okay, I don't want to give this the name as that. I'm going to name this machine Arun. I'm going to use the existing group. I don't want to keep creating groups. So I'm going to select that, review and launch. And I'm going to simply launch this. I'm going to use the key that I've been using. So I'm going to click launch. Alright, so now this machine should come up in some time. Okay, so now this particular EC2 is up and running. So let's see if we can connect to it. I'm not going to use putty here. I just this is just for a basic idea of what this particular EC2 has access to. So let's go ahead and click on connect here. So it is up. So I'm going to do a sudo su. So I've done a sudo su. Now what I'm going to do is check the AWS S3 ls. Now AWS S3 ls is a CLI command which you can use to actually list all the all the buckets, if there are any buckets there. So it is saying that it is unable to locate any credentials as of now. So before that, I want to create a bucket so that you will see that bucket whenever it is needed to be listed. So let's go ahead and create a bucket for that. So let's create a bucket here. I can give it any name. I'm giving it a random name which should be unique. So I did create a bucket now. That's a unique name. And even if now you go ahead and do AWS S3 LS, it should give you the same error. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going back to my console, and I'm simply going to go back to my IAM. I'm going to click on roles. I'm going to create a role, and I'm selected AWS service. I'm going to click EC2 is a common use case. So I'm going to click on the EC2 and I'm going to give permissions to this. So what are the permissions that I need for this particular EC2 is basically full S3 access. So I'm going to type in S3. I'm going to give this full S3 access. I'm going to click on next. I'm going to give this tag as the name of the this thing is basically S3 access. So I'm going to copy this just in case it will ask for this role name. Yes, it does. So I'm going to give this at S3 access test. Okay, so I've given that as the name allows AWS. So if you see, the role description is already populated. It's saying that it allows EC2 instances to call AWS services on your behalf. So I've done that already. Now I'm simply going to click on create. So now it's created. If you see that it is right here. So what I need to do now is basically go back to my EC2 instance and attach this role. So what I'm going to do is going back to EC2. And now this is the same EC2 instance that we were using. So I'm going to I click on something else. Alright, so if you see here, this is the EC2 instance that we are going to attach the role to. I'm going to click on actions. I'm going to click the settings, instance settings. I'm going to go into attach or replace IAM role. I'm going to click that. So you'll see that there is no role attached to this particular EC2 instance. I'm going to click here. I'm going to attach the S3 access test role that we just created, and I'm going to click on apply. So now this is applied. I'm going back to that console to check if this, so if you see this is before the particular role was attached. Now after you have the role attached, you will have this particular you will see that you can see the buckets. So I only have one bucket here. Now since I have given it S3 full access, I should have complete access to it using the CLI. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch a file here in temp. Okay, I've created this file here. Now I'm going to go back to the S3 bucket and show you that there are no files there, so that you see that it is not already there. There is one test file there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a test file 1 here instead. Okay, I'm going to create a test file 1 here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do AWS S3 test file 1.txt. Sorry, I'm going to copy this file, so I have to put at AWS S3CP and end this with S3. So this is how you actually go ahead and copy this. So I'm going to type in the name instead, bckt 4325. That's the bucket name, and I'm going to put this inside that bucket. So this should, yeah, so it has uploaded this file over here. So if I go back here, you just have one file. Let's go ahead and refresh it and check if that file has been uploaded. And yes, indeed it has. So what you have seen here is that a particular EC2 instance to begin with does not have access to S3 if there is no role attached to it. Now I've attached a role wherein which it has complete or full S3 access, and hence the particular EC2 instance could actually access the S3 buckets, also upload this thing. And now if you want to remove this particular file, you can go ahead and let's see if I can do that here. RM and so I have gone ahead and deleted it. Now if you want to list the files there, you can simply do this. So for listing the files that are available, instead of going there and checking it out, I can go ahead and delete this. So this is the way you can see what the files are there inside that. So now there is only one file here. If you go back here and do a refresh, you will see that there is only one file. That's the test file one. Again, I'm going to go ahead and delete that as well. I have deleted both files. So now you should have no files here. So this is how you can go ahead and use this particular role on a particular service. So we have done this for the EC2 resource here. Now, so that's about it to have an idea of what the particular roles can do. So let's go back to IAM and check what else can be done over there. Let's go ahead and see that. So under the roles, if you go to roles, when we are going to create a role, you will saw that we had done this particular. So now what we have done is we have done this for the EC2 instance, or say any services that AWS offers. You can give this role to any of these services. You can apply that. You can do it for another AWS account. We have done this prior to this this thing when we did this for particular access to the S3 bucket across AWS accounts. Now we can go ahead and do this for web identity as well, and you can use SAML 2.0 federation. So federated access, what we discussed, is like you can go ahead and have access, like say you want to give access to certain things, like say it's a Facebook access or a Google account that you want to put in here. So that all you can do. You can even have your Active Directory and stuff put in here, and you can give the roles to those federated identities as well. So this is what a role can do. So this gives you a base idea of what IAM is. There is much more to it, and as we proceed on, we will see that where and when we can use this. So we will do that. So that's about it from my side on this particular track. We'll catch up in the coming track. The coming track is kind of important. Please join that track. This is the VPC track that will be following up. So it will be a VPC theory track. So see you in the next track. That's all for this track. Thumbs if you liked it. Do subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Click the bell icon for updates on new uploads. For more such content, keep watching TechMozart. Thank you, bye, and see you in the next one.